What's up? What's up? What's up? Welcome back to the Let's Argue podcast. I'm a little hyped because I already see an angry emoji here on Facebook. Someone's already angry. Someone named Barbara. Already angry. I'm not sure what about. I haven't said anything at this point, but hey, uh, yeah. So for those of you who don't know, my name is Fitz. I am the host of the Let's Argue podcast. On this podcast and on this channel, really, what we talk about over here is Black culture, politics. I do funny skits as well. I do it all. And really, what the message of this podcast is just trying to promote freedom of speech, promoting the fact that there is Black excellence in the Black community, but it doesn't always have to come from a victim standpoint. I take complete and absolute responsibility and accountability for my life. And that's the message that I preach, not a message of hate, not a message of white people are better or any other group of people are better, but a message of Black people are not victims. And we can do what any other group of people can do. And it starts with the individual. It starts with you waking up and deciding that you want something different for your life. And the only way you're going to get that is by making the decision to do so. Okay. So let me get a drink of water. All right. So tonight, what we are talking about tonight, Black Lives Matter destroyed Black culture. And this is part of my segment of Racism Isn't Holding You Back. Before we get into it, I do want to show you guys the new shirts that are available now. The Let's Argue gear. We have this shirt in black. I believe it's also in like a grayish color. There's also a hoodie. And for those of you that like to stay in shape, go to the gym. There are also tank tops as well and crew necks. So you can get those by clicking the link in the description, or I put it up in the comment section. You can go purchase those today. Okay, so now that I have all of those announcements out the way, let's get into it, and we could have hopefully a healthy conversation as more people come into the stream. All right, so let me just start off by presenting my argument, and I am more than happy to defend what I'm saying, and also I look forward to a healthy debate if anyone wants to chime in and disagree. So, title of the podcast today, this episode is Black Lives Matter Destroyed Black Culture. Now, to preface this, I will say that there was nothing really of substance within Black culture prior to Black Lives Matter coming onto the scene in terms of some of the metrics I'm going to get into today. But I think Black Lives Matter took it to another level. And here's why. Okay. I think what Black Lives Matter did was to take a step forward in victimizing Black people, right? They put victimization on a large scale media machine that pushed it out to the general population and showed Black people as victims, which we are not. Okay. I'm going to stand firm on that. Black people are not victims. I'm going to say that again. Black people are not victims. Okay. Now, when I say this, for some reason, it pisses people off. That's right. Some people, and when I say some people, I'm going to say many people within the Black community get upset, but especially people within the white community, they get upset. And here's why. And I'll break it down within each community. One, when I say that Black people are not victims, the reason the Black community gets upset with me is because they think that I'm minimizing the historical tragedies that have happened to Black people and that I'm downplaying the racism and the discrimination and the things that Black people go through in this country. I'm not doing that. The reason some white people get upset is because Deep down, there are a certain group of white people that want to be saviors to Black people. And if you don't have anyone to save, you cannot be a savior. And so there's a savior complex among some white people to save Black people. And so when I say things like what must be done for Black people must be done by Black people, that stings some white people. When I say that Black people need to have their own institutions, they need to educate their own children, that I think most Black children need Black teachers, some white people, it stings them, right? So there's different perspectives there. But what I want to touch on when I talk about how Black Lives Matter turned the Black community into more victims, the reason I say this is because whenever there's an issue now, Black Lives Matter gets brought up, and it doesn't matter what it's for, whether the Black individual in that situation was right, wrong, or indifferent. People are screaming Black Lives Matter, right? It's in movies now. It's in propaganda. It's at LGBTQ marches. It's at things that have nothing to do with Black people, right? And here's the sad truth. When you call yourself a victim group, when you label yourself and allow other people to label you as a victim group, that comes with large amounts of money, okay? It comes with large amounts of money because when you tell yourself and you label to the world, we are victims. We can't do for self. We are victims. What you're pretty much telling other people is, come in and solve my problems. Come in and solve my problems, right? And the way that we pay other groups of people to come in and solve our problems is through voting for them, supporting them, taking time off of our own issues to focus on other people's issues, and not being for self. And so when I see Black Lives Matter now, I see an organization that really focuses more on social movements than activism, really focuses more on appeasing the Democrat Party than actually making change within the Black community. And if you read some of what Black Lives Matter stands for, it has nothing to do with Black people. Like I think when I read it a couple years ago, something in their mission statement, or one of their goals was to repatriate the United States and give land back to Native Americans. Now, I know there's going to be a group of people that are going to say, well, Fitz, Native Americans are Black people because those were just Black people that were already here. Okay. My understanding of it is they're talking about the Native Americans that we think of, the ones that were in tribes, the one that were in America, not Black people that were already here. Okay. Another thing, they're talking more about socialism and redistributing wealth and socialism and things like that, where really, to me, as the Black community, if we really want to do for self and really take advantage of this economy, we have to understand that giving the government more power over our lives, giving the government more say so over our lives, and we're not even in the position right now to do anything, is a recipe for disaster. And so I'm going to read off a couple of statistics about Black Lives Matter that I found interesting. Okay. So here's something. A majority of Americans say the increased focus on issues of race in the past 3 years hasn't led to improvements for Black Americans. Okay. So the increased focus on race hasn't led to improvements for Black Americans. So my question is, what improvements was Black Lives Matter trying to create? What were they doing? All right. What were the changes? What were the changes that Black Lives Matter were trying to do? Let's look into it. Okay. Let's look into it. right, so I'm going to share my screen. Let's look at what Black Lives Matter says they are about. All right, so right here, as you can see, Black Lives Matter was founded in response to the acquittal of Trayvon Martin's murder. Okay. It's a global organization whose mission is to eradicate white supremacy and build local power to intervene in violence inflicted on Black communities by state and vigilantes. By combating and countering acts of violence, creating space for Black imagination and innovation, and centering Black joy, we are winning immediate improvements on our lives. We are expansive. We are a collective of liberators who believe in inclusive and spacious movement. So an inclusive and spacious movement right there. Okay. That's the first line of what they have to say. An inclusive and spacious movement. Okay. So what that tells me is this isn't just about Black people, right? You want an inclusive movement, but this isn't really just about Black people. But you're using just the Black struggle for this organization and to build it up, but you want to be inclusive to everyone. That doesn't make sense to me. That does not make sense to me. That's like me going out and saying, yeah, I want to work and provide for my family. That's my main goal. And then I talk about, oh, I'm inclusive of all families. No, I'm going and working for my family first. And I don't think we're in the position to have an organization that is inclusive at this point. Like, how are you going to be inclusive when you haven't even gotten your own house in order, right? Get your own house in order. So a movement that is inclusive is a movement where you're literally inviting everyone in to come and have a say, everyone in to do whatever. And guess what? All you're going to do is make it to where the people with the most money, the most power are going to control that organization. And so this is why I say Black Lives Matter destroyed Black culture, is because Black Lives Matter ignited and accelerated the flames that were already on the victimization of Black people and how Black people have been portrayed as victims, right? When I say that Black Lives Matter has no business being inclusive, like they say right here in their own message, we believe in an inclusive and spacious movement. What does that even mean? What does that have to do with Black people and violence and all of those things? To me, what that's doing is saying, hey, look, we have a hold on Black culture and we're open for business. We're open for business. So it doesn't matter if you're for Black people or against Black people. We're open for business. There's no reason why Black Lives Matter should be advertising that they are an inclusive movement unless there was an alternative agenda. And I believe I may have found it. I believe I may have found the alternative agenda. And it might be the second paragraph over here. I don't know. We affirm the lives of Black, queer, and trans folks, disabled folks, undocumented folks, folks with records, women, and all Black lives along the gender spectrum. Okay. So most of this doesn't even seem like it pertains to Black people or Black struggles. So your Black Lives Matter was founded in response to Trayvon Martin's murderer getting acquitted. But somehow that translates to we affirm the lives of Black, queer, and trans folks, disabled folks, undocumented folks, folks with records, women, and all Black lives along. It's just everyone. Open up to everyone, everything. It seems like it goes from Black lives and talking about Black people to we're here for everyone. We're going to solve every problem. And in business, what you know is if you try to help everyone, you help no one. If you try to sell everything, or if you try to sell to everyone, you end up selling To no one, right? Because you're not focused. How are you? This is a response to Trayvon Martin's murder getting acquitted. I don't see how that relates to Black Lives Matter now saying we're open to the trans community, the queer folk, women, all these. What does that have to do with Black people and Black violence? I don't know. Can someone put that in the comment section? Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe I'm missing something, but it seems like a movement, not so much to help Black people, but let's see. And then it keeps going from Black people to not Black people. And we must move beyond the narrow nationalism that is all too prevalent in Black communities. We must ensure we are building a movement that brings all of us to the front. So it's a response to Trayvon Martin, who died in the United States, Black man. But now it's a movement where we need everyone. Okay. So marginalized with Black liberation movements. We're working for a world where Black lives are no longer systematically targeted for demise. We affirm our humanity, our contributions to this society, and our resilience in the face of deadly oppression. The call for Black lives to matter is a rallying cry for all Black lives striving for liberation. Okay, so it went from Trayvon Martin getting killed and his killer getting acquitted to we're opening it up to queer, trans folks, disabled folks, undocumented folks, everyone. This is a movement for everyone. Exactly what Trayvon Martin would want, I guess. And somehow that's going to bring together Black people and the people of the world who are no longer systematically targeted for demise. All right. Okay. So enough of that. We're going to get into just some cold, hard statistics about Black Lives Matter. Okay. So Black Lives Matter appeared almost about 10 years ago. After the murder of George Floyd, 2/3 of people expressed support for the movement. 2/3 of people expressed support for the movement. Here's why I think that is not a good idea. Okay. When we look at Black Lives Matter, what we know is that they've mismanaged funds, allegedly, and that they have not done what they needed to do when it comes to using those funds. There's been allegations of founders just cashing out family members, using it for strippers and things like that. Like, if you haven't watched Pocket Watching with JT's analysis of Black Lives Matter and what happened with the funds, go check that out. That's Pocket Watching with JT. But he goes into what they're actually doing with the money. Okay. And you would be very surprised. But when it comes to Black Lives Matter and what they've done to victimize the Black culture, pretty much what they're saying, and I see this all the time, every election cycle since they've come out, there's going to be a police shooting within the next year or so. There's going to be a police shooting that they are going to, and when I say they, I mean the mainstream media is going to just push on us all. They're going to have the videos. They're going to push this on us. And then this is going to be the spark that reignites Black Lives Matter. Okay. Black Lives Matter comes around every election cycle. This one is going to be no different. Okay. Black Lives Matter is going to come around, and then they're going to start getting more active. Donate, donate, donate. And what I think this is for is to drum up support for the Democrat Party. I think that Black Lives Matter is an extension of the Democrat Party. And I think that Black Lives Matter uses their influence to get Black people to go out and vote for Democrats. And I think it's no coincidence that almost every time there's a presidential election, since Black Lives Matter was formed, they come out and they drum up this narrative of the United States hating Black people, police hating Black people, all of these things. And so I don't think it's going to be different this time around. Okay, now, when it comes to the presidential election and Black Lives Matter, understand that Black Lives Matter is now kind of a gatekeeper to whoever wants the Black vote. Black Lives Matter has so much power over the Black community that if you say you don't support Black Lives Matter, they automatically think you're racist. There's automatically a negative connotation to it, right? And why is that? For the same reason that if you say you don't support the Democrat Party and you're Black, there's automatically a negative connotation or association with you. You're not really Black. Look at what Joe Biden said. If you don't vote for him, you're not Black. And the same thing applies with Black Lives Matter. If you don't support Black Lives Matter, you're not considered Black. And why is that? Okay, why is that? Because of the culture, right? In the Black culture, we gravitate too much towards sensationalism. And sensationalism dictates that if something is not entertaining or something is not over dramatic or blown out of proportion, we're not going to gravitate towards this. So let's talk about culture, because that's really what I want to get into tonight. Let's talk about culture, because I just want to give some definitions. All right. Just some definitions of what culture actually is, because it gets mixed up a little bit. But believe it or not, culture actually has a purpose, right? Culture has a purpose. So what is culture? Okay. So when I'm talking about culture for the purposes of this conversation, the definition that I'm going to use for culture is that culture is the cumulative deposit of knowledge, experience, beliefs, values, attitudes, meanings, hierarchies, religion, notions of time, roles, pretty much how you pass knowledge and information and behaviors and beliefs down to the next generation, right? This is at the center of any successful group or any group really. So culture is actually a tool. So when I say that Black Lives Matter destroyed Black culture, what I'm saying is that when we look at culture as a tool to pass down behaviors and knowledge, what behaviors and knowledge has Black Lives Matter passed down to the Black community, right? What behaviors, what knowledge, what beliefs? Well, going back to the victimization, Black Lives Matter has been used as a tool to come into the Black culture and make Black people believe they're victims, make white people believe that if you don't support Black Lives Matter, then you don't support Black people. And this is very dangerous, okay? It's very dangerous to associate a group, a social movement, with racism and caring about a group. And here's why. Because the social movement can then take on an identity of its own. It can take on an identity of its own. So if you don't support Black Lives Matter, then you don't support Black people. But here's where it gets weird. Because Black Lives Matter is not really for Black people. Black Lives Matter is a movement, a political movement, a nonprofit that is used to push the propaganda and agenda of Black Lives Matter and not necessarily Black culture. Okay. Black Lives Matter was a response. It was a response to something. And they used that response, and they probably got more attention than they thought they would. And then they built up and built up and built up. And over time, you can see they've strayed further and further and further and further away from Black people. And how do they reel us back in? During presidential elections or when something big is happening in the country, they throw out the police brutality. They highlight a specific event. And then boom, 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 they reel us back in and say, see, chant it. Hashtag Black Lives Matter. Make your profile picture Black. That'll change everything. Okay. So let's get into how culture manifests. So symbols, gestures, pictures, objects that carry a particular meaning. When we talk about Black culture, what do people think about? Let's be real. When we talk about Black culture, do other groups of people think of positive things, or do they think of Black women twerking on stage, getting BBLs? Do they think of gangbangers? Do they think of rappers and athletes? Because that's what I think of when I think of Black culture. And I know there are some people that are going to say, oh, well, you need to study your history, and we were kings and queens, and what about the Black people, the inventors and things like that? Those people exist, and they existed. But when I say Black culture, I'm talking about what a majority of Black people have come to know as Black culture, and what other groups of people and what we think of when we think of Black culture. When we go through Black culture, right? If you had a blank slate and you were looking at outcomes, specific outcomes based on what culture a kid went through, would you choose the Black culture to put your child through if you could choose any culture? Would you choose the Black culture in America where their heroes are going to be rappers? Their heroes are going to be singers. Their heroes are going to be athletes, right? They're going to be reading, they're going to know everything about LeBron James, but nothing about Albert Einstein and physics and math and all these other figures where if they learn more about them, they'd probably be more successful, right? Would you rather your child go through Black culture and depend on that culture for getting them outcomes, or a different culture? Like when we talk about culture, if you put your black child through the Black culture, what education are they going to gravitate towards? What are their values going to be on education? What are their values going to be on family? What are their values going to be on finances? Like, we have to start thinking of culture as a tool, right? What tools exist within the Black culture to produce Black people that can actually go out there and compete in the world? I don't see many. I don't see many tools that exist within the Black culture that we can then use to go out and compete. When I think of the mindset that I get when I think about Black people going out into the world and trying to compete is victimization. Okay? We're victims. We're going to get discriminated against. We shouldn't try. Everyone's against us. It's that victim mentality that is passed down within our culture, and then that is used as a tool by other groups of people, by other institutions, to leverage against us, so that then they can get what they want. They can extract what they want from our community. And so listen, okay, I'm not going to keep everyone all night. I know a lot of people are going to watch this on replay. I just wanted to get on and talk about culture. Somebody last week had asked me to get on and do a quick one. What I will say, because I'm going to wrap up soon, what I will say about Black Lives Matter destroying Black culture is that when you have a movement where on their About Me page, it talks about it's all inclusive, it's for everyone, it's BS. Because a movement is supposed to be focused on a specific issue. Okay. It's supposed to be focused on a specific issue. When you start trying to focus on this issue and that issue and this issue and that issue, now you don't even know what you're fighting for. You're just taking money now. You're just taking donations. And what ends up happening is the people that can fund the organization the most are going to be the ones that get the most attention. And so that is why I think Black Lives Matter is destroyed Black culture, is because now everyone understands that the largest movement we have that's supposed to be centered on Black people is for sale. That all you have to do is fund it, put some money in it, and then they're going to take care of you more than actual Black people. They're going to focus on who's funding them. And when you're an all-inclusive movement where you're doing everything for everyone, there's no way you're going to be able to remain focused, because you're advertising to the world, hey, come in, we're all inclusive. Do whatever. We'll fix that. It's like a plumber coming into your house and you're paying them to work on your plumbing, and then they start talking about, oh yeah, I'll build you a fence in your yard. I'll do the landscaping. I'll do this. I'll do that. Maybe I'll just go hire somebody that actually does that specific work. And so when you have a movement that's all inclusive, why don't you let other movements that are specifically focus on that, and then you focus on Black people? And that's one of the main problems with Black culture, is that we don't have anything that we value. There's nothing sacred within the Black community. Everything is up for sale. Everything is entertainment. We'll take anything and package it up and put it in entertainment form and push it out to people. Push it out to people. Push it out to people. And then what will we do when no one takes us seriously? When no one believes in us, when we don't believe in ourselves, when we don't get opportunities, we'll turn around and blame everyone else. But we don't even want to fix our own problems. And that's one of the issues that I think Black Lives Matter exacerbates, is because they are representative of the disorganization within the Black community. And so with that being said, like I said, I'm not going to hold you guys too long. I want to go eat dinner myself. Make sure you hit that like button if you're watching this on replay. Make sure you comment. Also, new gear available. So make sure you check that out. And I will see you next episode.